hi. Hello. Hi. How is everyone? Hi. Happy Friday, Saturday. Whatever day it is for you. Hello. Hello. Hi. It's good to see all of you. 12 months! A whole year of subs! That's so crazy. Thank you so much for the support, Gren. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yippies and spins all around. Oh, and thank you for checking in, Gren. And thank you for checking in, T-Hero. And thank you for checking in, Possum. And thank you for checking in, Weetabix. Oh, hi, Beppo. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see everyone. And hello, Peppermint. How is it? Hold on. The questions are above my head, but I don't want them above my head just yet. This is the first stream of yours I've caught. I love your vibes. Thank you. That is very sweet of you to say. I'm glad that you're able to stop by. I feel like this Professor Layton music is like way more intense than the vibes I was planning, but I really like this this playlist. Anyway, I had a really good week. I hope everyone else did too. It was really busy. I had a Monday off because it was a holiday for the US, and my goodness, I really don't like Mondays off versus Fridays off. Anyone feel that? Like, it's so much nicer when you have a Friday off rather than a Monday. The Mondays off always feel like everyone wants everything done this week. Loud. Hold on. That was a loud noise outside. Yeah, anyway, the Mondays are always incredibly, like, it's fake. Like, I have this nice 3-day weekend, but it's all fake because I end up just having to do so much. We like had so many things ending up like getting pushed. Like, usually like when you have Friday off, I feel like everyone's like, oh, whatever, things are okay, it's fine, like we'll figure things out later. But then when Monday off, everyone wants to fit everything into Tuesday to Friday. Like, everyone feels like they want the work to be done. Why did everyone want every single thing to be done? Anyway, it's not. This is a busy week, but not so bad. Could have been worse. Right now it feels like a long weekend. Monday off feels like dread, and then the internal clock in and out of it was my like work clock felt so out of jam this week. I was so behind on so many things. I ended up having I felt like I was apologizing over and over because I kept going, oh, I'm so sorry. I meant to send you this before. Sorry. I thought I was gonna send this to you earlier, but then I didn't send it to you. I'm so sorry. I was emailing people at like 8 p.m. and I was just apologizing. And then they're like, you don't need to apologize. But I just felt so bad. Tuesday becomes a new Monday for a week. I know, but then it sucks because there's not enough time in the week. Everyone's like, they like to pretend there's enough time in the week to do everything, but there's not. Someone sent me like a file that I work on Mondays. They sent it on Tuesday, and they were like, okay, make sure you give this to us on Friday. I'm like, you just told me you want to give it to me. You want the same deadline, but I don't have one less day to work on it, and you give me more? You give me more work? It was like a bunch more that they wanted done. These people. Hello, Lettuce. Hello. Hello, hello. Good to see you. It all got done. It all got done, at least. But the expectations are just so different when it's Monday versus Friday off. Yeah, it was still a great week. It was a great week because, I mean, I always have to think about it like, I work from home. At least I'm not going into an office. At least I'm like all in my comfy PJs. I'm just kind of relaxing. And like when things get super stressful, I end up just like getting up and taking a walk. So it's not like, it was stressful, but all in all, it's like, it's still nicer. It's still nicer than what most people have to deal with. it's like a level. I think my level of stress right now is a little high because I have a lot of deadlines to do. So and generally, it's a lot. It's that summer crunch time before everyone wants to leave. Everyone's trying to dip for their European summer vacations. But I'm like, I have to meet with you. Can you please find time for me to meet with you before you dip for 3 months? Adulting kind of sucks. Guess I won't grow up. I think I don't like adulting. I think it's like nice to have independence. I much prefer this life compared to being a student with no money and no like free will and responsibilities. Like, or I had responsibilities, but I was tied to like what other people wanted to do. It's nicer. Like I can get stressed and then I can go buy like ice cream for myself if I'm really that stressed because I have money, and I can go walk to an ice cream store. Because no one's going to tell me, why are you getting ice cream? At my work, we have 3 days to get a call list done with 100 calls each of us, and each instead of 4 because it's Monday and work is closed on Friday, so I get it. Yeah. Yeah, it's just one of those weeks. It's one of those weeks. I have like a big meeting that I need to prepare slides for too, and it's always a little stressful preparing for a big meeting. Ice cream is the light at the end of the tunnel. I love ice cream. I was thinking I should get some more this weekend. I saw that the place I like to go to, they have a peach soft serve that they're selling for the summer, and I really, really want to try it. Happy Friday to you, Dr. Z-Track. I like this song. I really want to play Professor Layton on stream, but it's kind of a pain to get set up because it's only on DS, and I have to set up the DS emulator. Maybe I'll just wait for the new Professor Layton game to come out that's properly on Steam whenever that releases. I just want to do puzzle games. I want to do puzzles and use my brain. I haven't used my brain in a while. In like in a gaming sense. Anyway, today is our Q&A stream. Have you ever tried avocado ice cream? I haven't had it in years and dream about it often. I don't think I've ever tried avocado ice cream, but that sounds pretty good. Like, I'm guessing it's like really creamy and soft. Ice cream is I have to take so many lactate pills when I get ice cream treats. Like, I like down like 5 lactate pills to make sure I have no side effects. I know, and there's like vegan ice cream options, but vegan ice cream options don't ever taste as good as like the full fat dairy cream. Like, a vegan soft serve is it's not the same. Anyone that's had the vegan soft serve knows it doesn't have like the creaminess. It's always a little icy, and it's not as like soft. It's actually kind of hard, and it doesn't have the right flavors. It doesn't really taste like like the chocolatey, vanilla-y. Viewfinder is a fun puzzle game. I've never heard of it. Hold on. Viewfinder. Oh, I've seen this game. I just haven't played it. That looks fun. Q&A cancer learning, huzzah! I know, I'm excited to do it. You guys have given me such good questions. I have such a my notes page is like 20 pages long on Google Docs, so I'm excited to go through it. And, you can ask questions here too, but I will be prioritizing the questions. Oh, thank you for the follow, Blue Dragon. I will be prioritizing the questions people submitted, just because I really want to make sure to get through those, since, the people submitted those questions and I took notes on them, and so those are the high prio ones. If you have questions regarding one of the questions and like how I answer it, we can certainly have a discussion on that. So, don't worry. The vegan texture is also gritty sometimes. It is. Like, it's not the same. It's not the same. That's why I take 20 lactase pills and eat the soft serve. There's also vegan flavors, vegan textures don't come in all the good flavors. Like, I really like matcha soft serve, and there's like no way you're finding matcha vegan soft serve. Like, I'm asking for too much looking for that. Okay. Let me get the questions loaded up, and let me get my notebook opened. Okay. Okay, if you submitted a question, you might not recognize it's your question because I did like make it shorter because some of the questions were really long and they're just like on little text boxes here and on my screen. And then I'm just gonna go through these one by one. And I also ordered them. I tried to put them in an order that kind of makes sense of like, you know, telling a bit like they're at least a little bit connected in a way. Like they kind of go, we're kind of gonna go in like a flow, maybe, sorta, kinda. It's better. It's some kind of order. I call this section like kind of like the cancer causes and risks. I like the flashcard look. Oh, thank you. It's literally I was gonna make it look more fancy, but I just didn't have the time this week, unfortunately. But so our first question here are, what are the biggest misconceptions people have about cancer? And I think this is a pretty good one because there are bonk, 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 bonkety bonk, 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 bonk. I've been bonked. Dr. Z-Track Y. So with misconceptions, there's like a lot of ways I can really take this. I didn't want to go too, I feel like I can go so many ways regarding like misinformation online or disinformation online, but I want to go a more kind of a there's like two innocuous misconceptions, I will say. I didn't want to get too into like, I can fall into a rabbit hole, I think, of like, there's scientific disinformation and it really gets me going, and then I will be yapping about that for like 30 minutes. So instead, I'll go with like two innocuous misconceptions. I think the first like common misconception we see is that people usually see cancer as this like one disease, you know? They think of cancer as like cancer and that's it. And cancer that affects this organ, cancer that affects that organ, cancer that affects this, cancer that affects that. But they think it like all is the same kind of cancer, but it's really not. You have to think of cancer as like this category, you know? It's got so many different things under it. It's like a giant classification of a type of disease. There's hundreds of different types of cancers, and they all kind of do something different. They all are getting they're all getting genetic mutations that drive them differently. And by drive, I mean like the disease is progressing. The tumor is tumoring. The cancer is cancering. That's what driving means. And usually there's specific gene mutations that are called the drivers. And those are usually the ones that we are targeting for a treatment, you know? So I think that's like one of the big misconceptions. I think the second misconception, and this was also part of the question, the autoclave in the middle of this. Maybe I'll turn off the autoclave. Thank you for checking in, Rip. Thank you. Hope you're doing okay. And so the second misconception, I think, is the correlation and causation. Oh, thank you for checking in, Lettuce. So this meaning like X increases cancer risk. People say that. Oh, at work, so I won't hang around much. That's fine. Thank you for even stopping by. So a lot of times, like, people go like, you know, smoking causes cancer. Alcohol causes cancer. Smoked meats cause cancer. Sunlight causes cancer. And it's like, well, yes, in a way, but it's more like you have to understand these are like risks. We're talking about cancer risks. There are a lot of deterministic triggers. Okay. You got. Thank you for the autoclave. Did you get me? Yeah, you did. A second autoclave has hit the streamer. Thank you, Gren. So, risk is always about probability, you know? You have to, like, be mindful of the fact it won't exactly, like, you know, you smoke cigarettes, but, like, you're not exactly always gonna get cancer 100% times. You just are increasing your likelihood of getting it. So, smoking, like, dramatically increases that risk. Certain things are gonna dramatically increase that risk. And, of course, that doesn't mean everyone with lung cancer even smoke. There's a lot of people. There's a whole type of cancer, of lung cancer, where it's for non-smokers, which is like sad to think about. But that is a disease, and so cancer is kind of this accumulation of a bunch of risks and triggers. And sometimes, like, you don't really have much control over it because you have just genetic predispositions that make you more likely to get this. And that sucks. That sucks. You could do maybe everything right. Like, you can eat right, you can avoid the sun, you could not drink, you can do all of that, and you might still get it because it's the DNA randomly is damaged. It accumulates over time, and then you get some kind of cancer. That's unfortunately just how it is. It sucks. But that doesn't mean you should live your life doing a bunch of carcinogenic activity. Like, you should be mindful. You don't want to, like, there's no reason to put unnecessary risk in your life, you know, right? Like, you shouldn't just smoke and drink and eat fatty foods and don't get enough sleep and go out in the sun without sunscreen for hours and hours. Like, that's not very smart. That's not smart. You're not playing the odds. I think when you think of cancer, you should be thinking about playing the odds. We don't have great technology to know what our, like, starting odds are. Everyone might, you can get, there's certain testing for specific germline variant risk, which are like your inherited genetic mutations. You can get tested for certain ones, like things like BRCA. Like, that's why it's important to kind of know what runs in your family. Like, that's why you often get asked, like, hey, did anyone in your immediate family have breast cancer? What kind of cancers did they get? And so then, you know, you'll never know exactly what your starting odds are, but, you know, be mindful. You don't want to add more percentages. Don't keep adding percentages for fun. So what's important is to limit the risk factors, but don't let it paralyze you into doing anything out of fear. Exactly. It's all about, like, you know, being mindful. Should you, like, avoid smoking and drinking and all of that? I mean, if you feel like those activities aren't worth it to you, then they aren't worth it to you, and you don't have to add it. But if you find that those activities are worth it to you, regardless of the risk, maybe just be mindful of, like, you know, how much you're doing that, your consumption habits. And, you know, maybe make a little bit, like, if you're doing something bad, maybe exercise a little bit more on the side to get at least some nice benefits. Do something good for your body. I wonder what they'll say about vapes in 10 years. I think there's not a lot of research, like conclusive research yet, because it's still super new. But yeah, I can't imagine. I don't know. I am not a fan of putting anything in my lungs, like anything like smoking, anything. I'm not, like, I don't do that. I'm also just, like, I don't drink either. I try to avoid a lot. I personally like avoiding a lot of the carcinogenic habits, just that for my own sake. But it's also important to remember when they say, like, sometimes you see, like, statistics that are like, it's a 62% increase in cancer risk. You have to be mindful of how teeny tiny, like, that actually means in the grand scheme of things. It's not like you're 62% more likely to get cancer. It's the risk has been, like, you know, increase by 62%, but that risk might already be pretty tiny, depending on your lifestyle. And also your genetic factors, which you might not know of. So, you know, there's all that. I'm pretty sure it's the metal oxide that does the most harm from vapes. The UK just banned anyone from smoking if you're born after 2008. I will not be vaping and I will not be smoking, but you know, go, if that's something, that's one of your vices and you're having a hard time like letting go of that, you know, just be mindful. And also, it's not going to be one cigarette or one vape. That's not the thing that's going to get you cancer. It's not you smoke one cigarette and you have lung cancer. That's not how it works. It's like an accumulation of damage. It's every time you do it, you might be like having a chance, like risk chance increase, you know. Like the first time you do it, you might not even get any, like none of your cells might not even die. Who knows? And then they don't have to get repaired. Like the cotton balls in the bottle video, I think I've seen that one. I think I know what you're talking about. I smoke like a chimney fire? Maybe don't. But you know, I'm not here to tell how people how to live their life. I'm just here to tell you that there is a cancer risk associated with carcinogens. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Sorry, I'm trying to... Where is the button? There it is. Wait. Did it go to the next one? Okay. So, what is the relationship between stem cells and cancer? I think it went to a random question. I think my deck wasn't loaded properly, but it's okay. I'm going around. Okay, so there's two distinct concepts here, like we should like think about. So there's like normal stem cells, and stem cells are like a great option for stem cell therapy. It's really cool. So when we have blood cancers, and those are cancers that are moving through your body, you know, and they're taking advantage of your immune system and all that, we have treatment options such as stem cell therapy. This is most common for something like leukemia. They kind of like give you chemotherapy to remove any more like any chances of your immune system fighting back, and then you rebuild that immune system from donor stem cells. And it's kind of partly therapeutic because it like replaces that diseased cancerous bone marrow, and it's also kind of like immunological because it's a graft tumor effect where the new immune system can see the residual cancer. So before, the issue was like that person's immune system couldn't see where the cancer was. It was getting the cancer was dodging left and right, and our current immune system was just bad. So with this new immune system, they can finally see it. Graft tumor effect. That graft tumor effect is what I was saying. Is the new immune system can see the residual cancer. It's not getting dodged. Like it's not falling for the immune evasion, so to speak. It's saying, oh, I can recognize that I can recognize that is a foreign contaminant. That is cancer. I'm going to go fight that cancer, rather than the problems we had with the host's original immune system that couldn't actually find anything. Stem cells are specialized cells that are made with a specific purpose. No, they're actually the opposite. Stem cells are unspecialized. They are blank cells. They don't have a purpose yet. They get a purpose through signals, and that's through stem cell therapy. They get signals to become part of the immune system, and they start fighting. They fight real hard. So that's like one part with stem cells and cancer. There's also an aspect of cancer with stem cells called cancer stem cell hypothesis. This is a little different than the treatment part. This is more like a theory about tumors themselves and that they might have stem cell-like properties. So the hypothesis goes that tumors have a population of cells that are stem cell-like. Not exactly stem cells, they just have those properties of stem cells like self-renewal. They can differentiate into specific cells based on the signal, and they are more resistant to therapy. So the hypothesis kind of goes that tumors have cells that are mostly differentiated and killable. And so, those are the guys that are getting targeted by therapy. But then there might be this small reservoir of cancer stem cells that regenerates the tumor after treatment. And that's why they believe that tumors might come back even after you treat them. Like, why do they keep recurring? That's, maybe why. This is still a hypothesis, though. I don't think they have had good data to, really validate this. So that's what's going on with stem cells and cancer. It's pretty cool. Okay, let's see where it's gonna take me next. I feel like I put it in an order and now it's not in the order. Now it's going in a different order. Magic, PowerPoint. How does the body know when the cancer is eliminated? I really like this question because I think it's always interesting to understand exactly what's going on in our bodies. It's really easy to think about biological sciences as just these systems and saying this happened, therefore that happens, but what's actually happening in our living body, what's going on. And this is a good point. How does the body know the fight's over? How does the body know the war is over? And the truth of the matter is, it doesn't really. There's no way for it to really know. And it's one of the big challenges that we have. Even we don't really know exactly when cancer is fully eliminated. We have terms. When people are treated, we have certain terms we utilize to talk about the effect of the treatment. There is something called remission, which means no detectable cancer by current methods. I'm sure you've heard, people often say that when, you hear someone has cancer and they said they're in remission, and that's good. Everyone claps and goes, yay. It doesn't exactly mean they're cured, but there is no more detectable cancer. Another one you might hear is a complete response. Maybe not complete response. That one's more in in a clinical trial setting. But complete response to a treatment usually means that imaging and biopsies also don't show cancer. So it's kind of similar to remission, but not really. But again, neither of these are cured. There's another factor that pathologists use. It's called minimal residual disease, MRD, and we use it as kind of a threshold to see how much disease is actually in the body still. And if it's below a certain threshold, then we're good. Everything's good. The person's probably feeling good. Person's probably not suffering. But that level can go up, and it can persist, and it can eventually repopulate. And the problem is, it's a threshold, right? And we don't really, we can't detect. You need a certain level of sensitivity to detect the tiniest amount of cancer, and we don't really have that kind of technology just yet. The best so far is liquid biopsies, which are for detecting tumor DNA in the blood. But even that is still pretty specific to sensitivity. You might not really get everything, unfortunately. You might not be able to detect the tiniest amount of tumor in your blood. So we don't really know. And so for the body, the body will kind of after it fights back you know, after it feels like there's a certain point when your body's no longer going through like this chronic inflammation, immune system fighting, and that's usually coincides with this remission and complete response and MRD. It'll go back to passive surveillance. It doesn't. It just stops. Like, if there's no more targets for it to find, there's no more targets for it to find, and that's kind of how I guess it will know that it's eliminated. How many cells need to come back for the cancer to have enough strength to come back? There's not a really good answer for that, because this is also going to be specific for what kind of cancer you have. And like the quantification for it is also a bit different. Like, depending on the kind of cancer it is. It's really difficult to say. It's just you would need to like really look at it for a specific tumor type or cancer. And even when like we feel like something is eliminated, there's patients that have had like years of remission, as in like we haven't been able to detect cancer in this patient for so long, and they still show that their immune system has an immune memory, meaning that like their immune system knows how to fight that cancer. And so it could be actively, like literally actively fighting, and they might have a protective effect. So that's also one reason why like it might be eliminated, but your body could also literally be fighting it in the background. Who knows? Anyway, it's a fascinating thing. We don't... Gist of it is, unfortunately, we don't really have a great way to know like elimination or cure. All we can really say is it's not detected. There's no more evidence of it existing. That's about it. I wish we did know. I wish there was a little ding-dong like flag that was raised when you completely like cured it, like when it would go away completely. But it's because cancer. This is all because cancer is so tricky. That's the biggest issue here. A lot of these questions, I feel like I'm going to be saying like, cancer is just really tricky. Cancer is really tricky. Cancer is really tricky. Cancer is really tricky. Because it just kind of is. It's one of the most complex diseases. I've mentioned this before, but I always want to like humanize it. I want to say like, it's so smart. It's like, it's not smart. It's just like reacting and evolving based on what we're giving it. It's just doing the natural progression of evolution. Like, if a little bit of it lives after you do something to it, of course it's gonna now like know how to prevent, like how to get away from what killed it. Is cancer so common because there are so many types people get, or is cancer just a common thing where 50% get it? I mean, it's kind of just like an inevitability of our biology. That's kind of what happens when we are the consequence of being like a complex organism with so many cells and tissues. You just have so many things that are like I said, cancer is about an accumulation of problems, and since we are complex beings with tissues and cells and we live a long time and things are dividing and repairing over and over, you just eventually are gonna get problems. That's just how it goes. Of course, for some animals don't seem to have this problem, and we don't. You know, it would be cool if we could figure out why and how to apply that to humans. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question. The next question is, does cancer trick the body? Cancer is tricky. Cancer is tricky. But I can get into like some specifics of like how it tricks the body actually. So, one of the big things that cancers do is something called immune evasion. They can utilize different... That's a very valid question. I was wondering that. Yeah, it's incredibly valid. They can interact with certain immune cells and kind of just tell them to stop it. Don't look for me anymore. There's certain, like, they can attract immunosuppressive T cells and say, hey, no more, don't try to fight me anymore. Like, it's over. We're good. You've taken care of it. It's like really manipulative. it's tricking your whole system, and your whole system will go, oh, okay, yeah, it's over. I'm fine. But you're not fine. You're not fine. You're not. There's also certain receptors that cancer cells can have. They can upregulate PD-L1. That is pretty bad. PD-L1 is a inhibitory checkpoint inhibitor. It just says, hey, stop. It's just so many ways for it to tell the immune system to stop. And that's like why it's also tricky. Like, imagine we stop the part where it tracks the immunosuppressive T cells. Then it could just like use this other pathway to still stop the immune system. It's, as I was saying, like every time you hit it one way, cancer is pretty good at figuring out there's another way to go about getting its growth done. It's why a lot of times you end up having to hit cancer with so many things at once, so there's no like escape route. But it's also hard. Like, I also struggle. Like, I call it tricky, but it's also hard to call it tricky, you know, because it's tricky implies there's some kind of deliberate intent to like cause harm, but it's just cells overgrowing with mutations. Like, it has no intent. It's just like a pile of cells that are trying to like do its own thing, just wrong. But it's so hard. It's so hard to not call it tricky. Also, I struggle so much. I struggle so much with like how I want to like humanize it versus not humanize it. But then, and I want to call it tricky, but then it's like, you're just cells that were naturally selected to do this. You're not tricky. You're just cells. It's a Professor Nico. It is. I'm talking about cancer questions that people submitted. Gaslighting my immune system? How dare they? I know, it's literally cancer might be gaslight, gatekeep, girl bossing, like all in your body. If every cell is killed, how do they evolve without a group conscious? Well, that's the problem. Usually, not every cell is killed. It's very difficult to kill every single cell. There's so many times we don't know if there's any left, because we don't have detection methods to show off if there's any little itty bit of cancer cell left. And if even just a few live, and then that's enough for like evolution to happen. Okay, we're gonna go to the next question. Life finds a way. Life finds a way is like accurate for cancer. Okay, it went to like, okay, I see what happened. I think it skipped a whole it skipped some sections. That's okay. We'll just keep going on to this section. Nico, how the heck do you memorize cancer markers? I mean, I work with them literally 10 hours every day. It's encoded in my brain that I know. Like, I look at them way too often to not know them. All I remember is TP53. TP53 is a good one to know. I mean, but there is a lot. There are a lot of different ones. I feel like it's not too bad to like figure out to memorize them. I think if you like break down what they are, it's not the worst. BRAF, EGFR, ABL1, ACT1, ERBB2, ESR1, KIT. Marker tier list when? I want to do, I want to make a quiz. This is a quiz that's highly specific, probably literally just for me. like, I want to make one of those quizzes where I have to list every FDA-approved cancer and its biomarker and, like, the drug in what cancer type. And then do that on stream. Because I'm pretty sure I can literally do it. I can even do it, like, for NCCN-approved... I can do it for NCCN-approved therapeutics as well. I actually need to do that for my exams this Monday. Well, I'll have... you can do it. You can do it, Spectral. Cancer tier... I don't know about a cancer tier list. I think all cancers are pretty interesting. Hydration, thank you. And though I've been working a lot with breast cancer. I like breast cancer a lot, but this recent approval, the FDA approved vepdegestrant PROTAC inhibitor for ESR1 select mutations, and I've been so annoyed working on that one, like, at work, because of how many people don't... The people involved with these, like, approvals, they don't give, like, any information that I need for biomarker specific, like, data. Like, I need to know what mutations this drug is for, people, and nobody wants to talk about what specific mutations these are for. Nobody... I had to email Guardant Health, and I go, knock, knock, hello, can you are the ones that approve the companion you are the ones that have the companion diagnostic that's FDA approved. Can you tell me what mutations this ESR, like, that for ESR1 that this new drug is for? And I'm like, I guess I'll have to get back to you. I don't know when we're releasing that to the public. I'm like, I'm trying to help people get the treatment. Why is this not publicly available when this news drops? I eventually ended up getting it. They just are so... They're so frustrating to work with. They're so slow. I think my favorite is Burkitt lymphoma right now. Burkitt lymphoma, I'm not a huge blood cancer person. Like, I think, probably because I don't work with them that often. I had another person in my team usually does it. Okay, I will answer this next question. In a world, if chemotherapy didn't exist, how could metastasis be slowed? Is metastatic cancer the same type as the original? Okay. Hi, Joseph. This is a really hard one to, like, even imagine happening. It's so hard to think about, like, chemotherapy not existing. And I'm also thinking, like, any systemic therapy, like, without systemic therapy, your options are going to be really limited. So all we can really do is, like, surgery and, like, X-ray radiation. I asked this. A wonderful question, Possum. Your questions were really good. You're going to, like... And I'm saying, like literal, like, radiation. Like, you know, localized radiation to the cancer site. It's very, it won't be very good. It wouldn't be very good because you can't really chase, like, you can't target cells outside of that localized region you're hitting. The cancer cells can disseminate, like, through the blood and the lymphatic system, and it can go anywhere, and there would be no really way to know and no way to really find them. This will be my first science of the day. Your first science! Wonderful. In, like, the past, before, you know, our chemotherapeutic options were more, like, where they are now, you know, all we were able to do was really, like, you do surgery and, like, remove the primary tumor, and then you just kind of, like, pray. You kind of just, like, hope that person gets, like, it doesn't come back. There's no problems in the future. Again, you can help them, I guess, through, like, you know, I think historically they focused a lot on diets. Diets were, like, a big part of trying to stop cancer, like, growth, like, you know, making sure people are well fed and they have proper nutrition. It's an important part of cancer treatment even today, but, like, that's definitely, it's not the same as trying to stop metastasis. From your description, it sounds very bleak. If we didn't have chemo, I know, it does. It is pretty bleak. Nice mic effect. Oh, thank you. I'm trying to make it like more studio, like I'm giving a talk. So for the second part, yeah, I like the presentation vibes. Yeah. I thought it'd be a fun way to do it in a world. So is metastatic, like now for the second part, is metastatic cancer the same type as the original? And yes, it actually is. Metastatic cancer retains the identity of the primary tumor. So if you have a breast cancer that metastasizes to the lung, it's still going to be a breast cancer. It's not the lung cancer. It was seeded by breast cancer cells that ended up colonizing the lung. It's kind of like a weird thing to think about, but that is how like the spread happens. But the difference is those metastatic cancer cells are usually more evolved. They've acquired like additional mutations, and those mutations usually help them like do even more immune invasion and survival in their new environment. They kind of had to evolve to be able to survive this new tissue environment, you know? They are much more difficult to treat, and they have different surface markers usually than the primary cancer. That's actually a really interesting question because I never considered the possibility of metastatic cancers changing type. I thought so too, because I thought the same when I saw this question, and I was like, oh, I feel like that probably is what people think when they think like the cancer is maybe spreading, like maybe it's now a lung cancer. What's a marker? A marker is whatever is on the cancer cell surface. So like a protein, like a receptor. They have different receptors that interact with the environment. Or the patterns for metastatic, like organ-specific metastasis, is usually kind of predictable. We kind of have a good feel on like like where the cancer is going. Usually, like for example, like for breast, it's usually going bone, or to the brain, or to the lung, or to the liver. For colon, it's usually going to liver, to the lung. Prostate, it's usually going to the bone, and it has to do with the kind of microenvironments these organs have that like allow them to seed properly in these new locations. I thought the cancer seeds would tell new cells it's okay to turn bad now, and different cancers would develop there. I think that is I think that's an understandable reason, like why someone would think that, because yeah, like I mean, we're talking about how like it feels like it's spreading, it's doing angiogenesis and all that, but it's really just this cluster of cells causing problems, and it's a little difficult it's difficult for me to even like really fully explain the biology of, because I don't necessarily work too much with like metastasis. I hate pronouncing the word. I work way more, like a lot of my like work and research is primarily on primary tumors, but you know, you can't just only focus on primary tumors. Primary tumors, you have to be mindful of what can happen when a patient goes further along in their stage of cancer. Now I'm wondering what the most stem-like of cancers like. Which cancer has the most stem-like potential? Is there something that can even be compared? Oh, that's kind of a fascinating way to think about it. I'm sure there might be research on this. Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head. Anyway, this was a wonderful question. I really liked this question. It made me think a lot, and I did a lot of research, and it was pretty difficult to understand. This is tangentially related, but I wonder if it's possible to spread cancer from person to person either by exchanging bodily fluids or touch. There's like examples of you can't really catch cancers like that. Like, cancer is not like kind of a contagious thing. There are like some niche things, like there's viruses such as human papillomavirus, HPV, that can be sexually transmitted and that can lead to cervical cancer. But that's more like the virus is like a contagious part. It's not really exactly you're spreading cancer cells, so to speak. It's just there's like also issues, like I think there's rare cases like of organ or tissue donations, like you can get a transplant related cancer, but I think that's very, very rare. If you shared blood and the first patient of blood cancer can be shared, well, I think there might be issues with that, but that's also why I don't think you're allowed to like donate blood or use, like, if you have history of like cancer of some kind, you can't donate blood or use blood like that. Similar to the organ transplant issue. I see glioblastoma can adapt neuron-like phenotype, which freaked me out. Glioblastomas are so wild, they kind of scare me. It's freaky to think about. Thanks for entertaining the question. I will say there's a canine cancer that can be transmitted through sexual activity. It's not a virus. It's literally like the cancer cells spread from one dog to another dog. And it's pretty wild. I was just talking about that, Josem. Is that canine cancer similar to feline AIDS? I'm actually not too sure. I'm not too familiar with it. Thought you were talking about tooth cancer. Oh no, like doggy dog. I would have to look into that. Awesome. Okay, we're gonna see what the next one is. Bum. Can different cancers in the same body cannibalize each other? This was also very fascinating. It's not something I ever would have thought of. And I had to also use my thinking cap this week to figure out how I could even answer this. I think this is very, practically very, very, very uncommon to see. Two independent primary cancers can occur simultaneously. That's called a collision tumor. And there's also been some documented cases of tumor to tumor metastasis where, if you have two independent primary tumors, a tumor from one cancer cell colonizes the other other tumor, which is very crazy. Very, very rare. Very, very, very rare. So, but again, this whole, having two primary tumors is just a very, very unusual and rare, not very well documented experience. But in theory, I would say, I would believe that a cancer could steal nutrients. You are just a human body with there's a limit on how much nutrients you have, and they both are both cancers are metabolically active, and they compete for the same vascular supply. But so in theory, yes, they would cannibalize each other. But clinical research, I couldn't find anything that shows one tumor starving the other. I think it would be more likely the person who has this, they would probably they likely would unfortunately pass before we could see something meaningful in this data, because okay, we've talked about how cancers are so different from each other. Can you imagine trying to give someone two different treatments for two different cancer types? It's very I think that person would unfortunately not be doing well, or we would be surgically removing them quickly before we can really study any kind of effects. Can a cancer be symbiotic? Like if you had naturally high blood pressure but cancer lowered it? Or I think that's actually the next question coming. That's coming up. So hold tight on that question. But we're going to be in an ad break soon, so I'm gonna hold. I'm gonna hold before I go to the next question and just hydrate. These questions have been so... I've really enjoyed all of these questions so far, but we are going to we are gonna do our best to get through all of these, even though I am going very slowly. But we'll speed it up. We'll speed it up. Stay hydrated. If you eat way too much, can cancer just not have any effect? I'll answer that quickly, but I don't know. That's unfortunately not how it would work. In a theory, it would be yes, you're providing so much and you have a lot of energy, you're not getting your nutrients depleted, but overeating is also going to help cause development of other cancers. You are you're increasing your cancer risk. You're probably not doing so well. You are probably promoting chronic inflammation, which is a big part of why cancer gets to succeed. Chronic inflammation is making it noisy for your immune system to do anything. Okay, we're ad breaking now. Can a tapeworm eat a cancer? Can a tapeworm eat a cancer? I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no. I have no idea though. Maybe it can. But I doubt it. I truly doubt it. I've heard some crazy things about how jellyfishes originated from cancer that started surviving, living independently. It's an environment. Interesting. I have no idea about that. But that sounds fascinating. I'm gonna see if I can organize something. Hold on. Hold while the... Hold. No. Okay. I thought I could fix the notes, but at this point, I think it's a little too late to fix them because now they're all over the place. I wanted to fix the order of the questions, but I think this is fine. Not sure if it's true though. Maybe it's a conspiracy theory. Well, while we're on the ad break, hold on. Let's look this up. Let's see if we can find anything in the 1 minute we're in the ad break. I see a Reddit thread on it. Generations of tumor-like... There does seem to be a lot of information about this specific topic. I see so many different papers and articles. Cancers? Researchers are now scrutinizing. Blah, blah, blah. They have... I see something specific for very, very teeny tiny microbes, a marine parasite, and how cancers could have gradually evolved from that. But I don't see anything specific about a jellyfish. Oh, I see. This is probably more likely the truth of it. A cancer in a jellyfish may have been infectious and jumped to other species, evolved into a group of strange parasites known as myxozoa. Doesn't seem like it's confirmed, but that sounds like the likelihood of it. Anyway, ad break is over. Hello. We didn't do anything. We were just going... I was just trying to figure out if jellyfishes did originate from cancer. But I don't think jellyfishes originated from cancer. It sounds like they had a cancer that spread and then maybe caused a different species. Yeah, my stupid thing. My notes went all over the place. Yeah. They're parasitic jellyfish, but are they actually jellyfish? I couldn't tell if they're actually jellyfish from this. It sounds like they're a microbe. They're parasites. Oh, they're part of the jellyfish. I see. They're part of the jellyfish phylum. Are jellyfish cancers also translucent? I have no idea. Animal cancers are very complicated. They're so different than human cancers, if anyone, like, wants to know that. Sometimes we have people at my job who are interested in using our data for, like, animal research, and I go, that's cool. I don't know how useful this information for you is, but I'm glad that there is some use for it if you're if you're contacting us. We get a lot of, like, dog cancer researchers. Can cancers, like, merge together or work together to take over a part of a body? Well, I don't... Based on our previous, like, on this question that is still on my screen, it's pretty rare for, like, cancer, like, two different cancers to even, like, be existing at once for long enough to see some of these effects. And I don't think they would likely not work together, because it's not like, again, you have to remember, cancer is not an organism. It's not thinking or anything. It's just trying to get its nutrients and grow. It's just trying to get nutrients from our body and grow. And likely there's no, like, real reason evolutionarily to, like, work or merge together with another cancer type, because then that's, like, adding joint, like, competing interests of, like, we both want the energy. So I think maybe not, but, you know, who knows. Okay, we're going to the next question. Because we have 20 something more to go through, but I'm gonna speed it up. Could cancer ever be beneficial to the body? This whole section was full of very, very fascinating questions and stuff that I probably have never thought of. I always like doing these kind of things, like, you know, asking people who aren't familiar with the field to ask questions, because I feel like they always have the best questions, because when you're, like, deep into a field, you just are... you don't think about these out-of-the-box thoughts. Maybe they form a united front and take down the occupant. They're not. They would not unite. They would hate each other. Okay, so could it be beneficial? Biologically, I would say probably not. There are some cases you can make for a beneficial cancer in, like, theory. Like, some researchers have proposed that early senescent or transformed cells might wall off damaged tissue and then trigger local inflammation that can clear that kind of infection. That's, like, a very, very speculative case of, like, how cancer could be beneficial. Like, it's kind of like, you know, trigger something to, like, clear other damage in the body. But yeah, this is very speculative. It's hard to ever imagine a world where cancer is beneficial to the body because of how much resources it's consuming, how it's disrupting the architecture of your tissue, and it's also diverts immune system attention. Like, it's difficult to imagine how there's any positives here. I saw 2 cancers on TikTok signing a peace treaty. Might have been VA, but you never know. Thank you for the hydration. I'm hydrating, Major. You know, you might have thought you saw 2 cancers, but it was like 2 cancer astrological signs. It's easy to confuse the two. I haven't looked into details. I have heard that deer antlers grow in a similar way to bone cancer, it's just more regulated. Oh, interesting. Deer antlers are very cool. And thank you for the head pat, Major. I didn't know they use nutrients. I thought it just kind of grew on someone without any fluid. No, they are eating up so much of your body's energy. It's kind of why we have like side effects of cancer. You know, people become very slim and gaunt. They are getting sucked out of them. Like cancer is sucking them dry. Gotta look after our streamers. Thank you. So it's, again, I think for this, I also spelled beneficial wrong. How can I call myself a writer or an editor? Anyway, it's difficult to imagine it's ever beneficial. There's some speculative cases, but likely, no, you should get rid of the cancer. Don't believe that the cancer can do some good for you. Just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. What is the lymphatic system's relationship with cancer? I'm inclined to believe that the cancer research might refer to... Yeah, probably not. I don't see it. Yeah. We all make errors from time to time. No, I can't make errors. So, the lymphatic system, I think this one was kind of cool. It's also interesting to look at because the lymphatic system doesn't get a lot of love. Nobody likes the lymphatic system. Even the people who are scientists don't really care about the lymphatic system. And I'll be honest, I also don't care that much for that. I don't care that much for the lymphatic system either. The lymphatic system is kind of the highway that cancer usually uses to metastasize. So think of like the lymphatic system is our cleanup crew and our defense crew, and it spans our whole body. And now it's kind of a free highway for cancer to go, yeah, we're hopping on that and we're going everywhere. So when cancers enter lymphatic vessels, they're carried to like certain lymph nodes, you know, areas where immune cells are filtering and intercepting pathogens. It's usually one of the major, you know, treatment side effects. You'll see like lymphodemas, like your lymph nodes start swelling up because there's so much happening. There is so much happening with the lymphatic system. They're getting overwhelmed. They're being taken advantage of. It's not great. It's not great. Obviously, it's really important because that is our defense system and our like things that clean up for us. There's a lot of like pathogens being cleansed out of us because of the lymphatic system, and that's great and all. It just also sucks that cancer can use it for a free ride. Lymphomas are specifically the cancer of the lymphatic system, so it usually causes issues with the B cells, T cells, and natural killer cells, which are all different immune cells that are supposed to fight the cancer, and so lymphomas disrupt that defense. What's the hardest type of cancer to treat, or are they all hard to treat in their own ways? They are all difficult to treat in their own ways. Some cancers are easier to treat than others because of how common they are, is the gist of it. A lot of things like solid cancers, which are like masses of cancer found in organs like breast cancer, lung cancer, those are more well studied and more common, so we have a lot more treatment options for them. It's still not nice, and it's still going to cause a lot of problems for the person, but there are more options than, say, like you have histone H3 midline diffuse glioma as a pediatric patient. Your options are quite limited. You only have really one option. And if you don't respond to that, that might be it, unfortunately. Lymphatic system need a pay raise in 3 weeks paid off. We don't want the lymphatic system cannot have a day off. It can't have a day off. Devastating as a neutrophil. I'm sorry, Fi. I'm so sorry, but I can't say I am not a lymphatic fan. 3 stream watch streak. Thank you, Toya. Hello. Not even maternity leave. How could you? How could you? Sorry, I'm trying to figure out why my notes keep jumping all over the place. It's curious how the lymphatics have been seemingly neglected in research, but it seems to be heavily linked to cancer propagation. I would think that someone would want to jump on it. Why do you think it's not very studied? I think people would like to jump on studying it. But it is historically underrepresented, and it's mostly because it's kind of hard to study. Lymphatic vessels are very difficult compared to organ tissue. Lymphatic vessels are really thin-walled. It's hard to visualize them compared to blood vessels. There's also no good markers for this, if I recall correctly. Like, we don't really have, like, we have great, like, markers to detect what kind of other cells are, but when it comes to, like, the lymphatic vessels, I don't think we have clean ways to say that's a lymphatic vessel surface marker-wise. And also, this is me thinking off the top of my head, I don't think we have a great way to study this in an animal model. Like, xenograft mouse models, which are just, like, the standard for cancer research, it's really difficult to study the lymph nodes, because, like, think about, well, our lymph nodes are already pretty small, but when you're talking about, like, animal mouse, like, lymph node dissection, that's really difficult to do. Okay, I know I said I wasn't going to answer other people's questions in chat and focus on the questions on the PowerPoint, but it's so hard not to. I like these questions are interesting, so I will do it quickly. Would targeted retroviruses be possible therapy reintroducing copies of the genes the cancer had lost? This, in theory, it sounds more useful, especially when it comes to tumor suppressor genes. But the problem in, like, practicality is when you everything's a fine, delicate balance. When you, like, you want to, like, reintroduce a copy. We try to, like, prevent the deletion, like we target deletions of specific tumor cell genes, like TP53. We don't really have a great way to target that, to be fair. But for example, it's usually a lot easier to target things that are, like, going haywire, for example, oncogenes that are overactivating and, like, dampening their signals, versus trying to reintroduce something back. I'm sure it could be possible in the future, but, like, right now, like, in practicality, more things are about dampening a signal versus trying to bring a signal back. With a variety of cancers, development of cancer detection is difficult developing treatment itself. Yes, that is one of the big challenges. One of the hugest challenges right now is trying to improve our detection system methods, and that's a lot of work. They kind of, like, are parallel research. Like, we need to, like, improve biomarker detection. We need to understand what biomarkers are available, like, are detected on certain cancers and are what are driving certain cancers, but then we don't have. And then we have to learn how can we detect those better. Things are getting a lot better in detection purposes, though. We're getting a lot of more protein expression. We're moving more beyond just DNA sequencing. We're really looking at protein, how things are being expressed. Is this protein there at all on this cancer, or is it not? It's still a challenge. They all have to work together. I also imagine that culturing lymph tissue isn't exactly considering to be in the context to be functional. Yeah, I agree. It's all a challenge. It's so challenging. So that's why the lymphatic system, I think, is historically underrepresented. Okay, I went through those really quickly, and we're gonna go to the next question. Could we engineer additional copies of TP53 or any tumor suppressor gene? I feel like sometimes I don't realize what's the next question, and then I feel like I kind of like touched on this already, but I'll go over it again. So TP53 is the most mutated gene in human cancer. That is just the fact. It's a transcription factor, and it detects cellular stress, so it's detecting DNA damage, hypoxia, which is, loss of oxygen, oncogene activation. It's triggering repair cycles, cell cycle arrest, apoptosis. It's detecting problems and then trying to fix the problems. And so when cancer is, when this is mutated and we lose this functionality, the damaged cells are surviving things that should have killed them off. That is TP53 in a nutshell. And I forgot to add this into the question, but this question also included the fact elephants have 20 copies of TP53. And it's proposed that this is why elephants rarely get cancer despite their large body size, because there is like a belief that, larger body size equal more tissue mass and also more chances of things going wrong. What is it called? Peto's paradox? Peto's paradox. So, but with 20 copies, they have a lot of copies, so the odds of completely losing TP53 function are completely low. Like, they're way lower than us. So could we do this, theoretically, in humans? I had notes on this, and I forgot this because I was just thinking in the top of my head, but I could have read my notes here. Apparently there are gene therapies about like doing adenoviral P53 encoding therapies, but I think the issue with this primarily is that you want to have a careful balance of TP53 activation. It's really hard to go back to like physiological like TP53 state. You don't want to do too much TP53. Too much TP53 and you're causing more damage than you should. You're causing like premature aging and you're causing stem cell exhaustion. There's also some hard problems with these kind of therapies because it's difficult to deliver the therapeutic to every cell in an adult body, technically. We have a problem with therapeutic delivery. That's like a whole other section on its own. There wasn't a question, and it's not here, but I should cover that one day, that therapy delivery is like its own topic of like research. Like, we can have the therapy and we know what we want to do with the molecule and like the idea of like we have this drug, but how do we get it to where it needs to go? Is that not an ethics issue to change genetics in humans to produce more? Yeah, it is a problem too. Yeah, it's not accepted. That's like there's ethics involved in that kind of level of germline editing. I think this adenoviral therapy is only in China. Pesky ethics. I know, pesky ethics. The real research I think we're gonna likely see more is not just like, it's not gonna be adding extra copies. It's probably gonna be how can we restore the functionality better. But again, like I said, it's a lot easier to dampen overactivation and like the pathways involved with overactivation compared to restoring functionality. Like, I'm sure it is a surprise to know like TP53 doesn't have a great like biomarker specific therapy. It's like we know how important it is, but like we just don't actually have like something that can do something about it. I wouldn't have thought extra copies to be hazardous to us. I don't know if it's it's hard to say because a lot of this is like was done in an animal model. When they overexpress TP53, like as in there was a lot of additional copies, the mice were aging a lot faster because, you know, they were repairing damage that didn't need to get repaired. And every time you repair damage, you're causing just a little bit of aging. Just a little bit of aging. Which is why you want to avoid damage. Don't damage your cells unnecessarily, and that goes all the way back to our first question with carcinogenics. Pesky intrinsically disordered buggers. I know! There are some, like, investigational therapeutics in the work that target specific TP53 mutants, like Reza but I don't know how to pronounce it, but it starts with a Res, and it's for TP53Y220. Okay, next question. Why do benign tumors suddenly become malignant? It's like how sunburns make your skin age and lose its flexibility. Yeah, exactly. It causes just a little bit of damage. Can't really rack that on the top of your head. I just work on these things so often, and I look at these mutations so often. Don't damage yourselves. Oops, my bad, fam. Don't damage yourself, you guys. Take care of yourself. Wonder how that impacts elephant aging. I'm not too certain on it myself. I should have looked into that, but now I will look into that after. So why do benign tumors suddenly become malignant? It's important to know that benign tumors are already abnormal, for one. They are growing where they shouldn't. Like, even though they're not doing any harm, they are still growing. They're slowly there, and they're not invading, but they are still somewhere they shouldn't be, and they can still cause harm. Usually harm in, like, more of a physical way. Like, you know, people complain, like, there's something, like, feels like it's stabbing pain or, like, it's pushing into something. It's because there's a mass just there that shouldn't be there. So, how benign tumors go from, like, just annoying mass to malignant is usually about mutations. It's always about mutations. It's always about mutations. So the classic example is colorectal polyps. So they're little inside your colon. A polyp is just like a benign tumor mass. You have to be mindful of these because they can develop into colorectal cancer. A polyp can accumulate mutations. All of a sudden, you know, KRAS is mutating. Maybe TP53 has been turned off, and this happens over the course of, let's say, like, a decade. And then now, oh boy, your benign polyp is now invasive. And each mutation was kind of like an additional step to get to that point. Also, just notice, is it an antibody immunoglobulin? Yes, it's dampening my pathogenic effects. It feels sudden. I like the word sudden here because it feels sudden, but it's really not sudden. It's usually, again, so many just accumulation over accumulation, and then there's the final mutation is the thing that, like, removes that final break and goes, okay, bet I'm invading your colon. It's over for you. And this is why detection is super important. This is why you should get colorectal screenings. This is why they should check your bum. Make sure, like, it's one of the problems we have right now. People aren't getting, you know, they don't get to go to their screening. They don't get to go to their screening until they accumulated enough mutations, and now it's colorectal cancer. There's also other parts. There's some, like, unique cases. Add to the counter of bacteria B2 admitted being pathogenic. No, you weren't. I'm tempted to clip invading your colon out of context. No, you can do that. Sure, you can do that, Possum. Confirmed it saved my life. That's great to hear. Sometimes some tumors can have something called, I really like this word, chromothripsis, where a whole bunch of chromosomal rearrangements just accumulate rapidly, and your chromosome basically cracks and breaks, and things are shifted all around, and that can, like, maybe cause that sudden malignancy. That's a rare case, though. Chromothripsis is not. It's very like a crazy genomic event. Oftentimes, it's this slow accumulation of mutations. Slow, quote unquote. Had one of them, the guy left after Zen told me to wait the natural game to it was not. Oh, okay. Thanks for clarifying it's not sudden. I really thought that it was like a light switch. No, but it's like easy to think it's a light switch, I think, because of the fact that people don't, you know, you're usually not screened properly for it, or it's not detected like in a timely fashion. So it might feel sudden because maybe you detected it only a few months ago, and now it's already at the point where it's gotten a ton of genetic mutations, and it's like on the verge of malignancy. What causes these chromosomal changes? Histone genetics, epigenetic tags, something else? I think usually I don't particularly know why chromothripsis like occurs. I've always been taught it's like this one massive genomic like rearrangement, and like all of a sudden like it's a single event that changes the course of the chromosome forever, because all of a sudden it's now shattered and there's thousands of rearrangements occurring. I think it has to do with specific gene mutations. Makes me want to get health checks more often. There's a careful balance of health checks. I think colorectal cancer screenings should be done earlier. Like right now in America, it's like age 45, but I think you should probably they should likely move that down, because there's a problem with a lot of people under 50 getting colorectal cancer. Yeah, just make sure the doctor is actually a doctor. Just make sure. Okay. Why are some cancers that are anatomically close, like the right colon and left colon, so different? I thought this question was interesting because of specifically the colon example. It's easy to think right and left colon are the same. Like, it's just colon. Oh, thank you for the follow, Alice. But they're actually really different. So I'll first go into the physiology. Hello! The right colon, which is like the cecum, ascending colon, transverse colon, develops from the midgut, and then the left colon is the sigmoid and rectum, and that develops from the hindgut. And these two, even though they're both colons, they have completely different cell populations, microbiomes, different gene expression patterns. Their exposure to bile and the fecal stream, they're completely different. And that's why also, in general, you also like end up seeing, like, it feels like these organs are so similar. You might think they're similar, but you just like put your little detector goggles on and go, they're actually so different. They have different genes, they have different cells, they have different microbiomes, they're exposed to different things. What do you think of turtles? I like turtles. I have been faking it. You kind of have to know physiology, but don't be scared, Fi. Like, I barely know physiology. Sometimes I go, interesting. Sometimes when I wish I could show this giant tree of all the different cancer types, like the 200 plus cancer types. And sometimes I've clicked through it and I go, I have no idea where this is. Like, I don't know where this cancer is. I don't, like, reading the name, I have no idea. I have no idea where this is, like, in the body. This might as well not exist on my body. Turtle Council will consider my case. Thank you, Turtle Council. Thank you, thank you. And I can get into more of, like, right colon and left colon. Even because of their different exposures, they just get different cancer types. Right colon cancer. This is funny saying right and left, because I don't know, it's like I'm thinking of like right Twix, left Twix. It's like the right colon is microsatellite unstable, as in like there's a lot of different genomic issues that occur and they get hypermethylated. And then the left colon has usually KRAS mutations and TP53 mutations. They even like, despite being both colons, they are getting cancer in a very different way. And it's fascinating in that regard. So I thought this was cool. A good question. It's a very good question. Twix like the chocolate? Yeah, it's an old commercial where they talk about... There's an old commercial about right Twix and left Twix, and how that was like the marketing brand of that they're different, but they're actually not different. But I keep thinking, for some reason, my brain goes into it when I think of like right colon, left colon. If Five Nights at Freddy's was a Dr. Seuss book, how would you make it rhyme? I'm sorry, Alice, I am not a wordsmith of that caliber of poetry. And I also don't know enough about Five Nights at Freddy, I'm sorry to say, to make a proper rhyme book. It's old? I think it is old, isn't it? Left Twix, right Twix. Is it not old? I guess it looks like... No, this is old. I'm old. When I open Twix, I bite into both at the same time. I haven't had a Twix in forever. I kind of want one now. A chocolate bar sounds nice. Okay, let's move on. Now it's going back to the beginning. Hey. Okay. What is the impact of the immune system towards cancer cells? What can we do to help prevent cancer? Okay, I feel like we've talked a lot about the immune system, but you know, now I'm going to focus specifically on it. It's all coming together now. It's all coming together. Now you can use all the knowledge, the specific knowledge, and think about this more in the context of the immune system. So, immune system is running cancer surveillance constantly. There's cells like the natural killer cells, cytotoxic T cells. They're always on the patrol for cells displaying abnormal surface proteins, you know? They want to know what's out there, what's not supposed to be there. They're the police looking for the bad guys. And if they find something that's abnormal, they destroy it, and hopefully no tumor forms. And that's called immune surveillance. Natural killer is such a sick name. I know. I love the name natural killer cells. How did they make such a cool name? And then we have lame names like T cell. How did they make... even NK sounds cool. NK cells, like, shorten it. So, they're surveilling. But then the problem arises, which is... cancer cells evolve. They can downregulate the markers that they were once, you know, destroyed for. They can secrete different molecules to say, get out of here, like, don't bother us anymore. They can recruit things to dampen immune activity. This is the immune evasion. So it's really like a cat and mouse game, cancer. So they're surveilling, and then there's immune evasion, and then they're surveilling, and then there's immune evasion. You want to do the best to prevent cancer by making sure your immune system is at the tippity top shape and you're not adding extra work to its job. And this comes from the beginning of the stream. We were talking about you shouldn't, you should avoid smoking, you should avoid UV damage, you should limit your alcohol. Those all cause kind of unnecessary DNA damage and unnecessary cancer risks. And they can also add unnecessary work for your immune system. But McDonald's is so cool. I mean, so good. Yeah, maybe limit it. Limit it. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to abstain. You should limit it maybe if you want to avoid cancer. Other factors that aren't like things we consume, you should know. Exercise. Exercise is good. You want to reduce circulating inflammatory markers. You don't want to be in chronic inflammation state. Chronic inflammation state is bad. what you don't want to do is don't like fall for like goofy like industry hacks. Like don't fall for some kind of like alkaline diet. Don't think about like a detox cleanse that's going to take out the cancer cells from your body. It's like none of that. That's not happening. That's like stop. We like cancer doesn't care about pH. So like I don't understand where this alkaline diet nonsense even came from. Your cells are very tightly regulated when it comes to the pH, regardless of what you eat. You don't need to worry about what your pH is on your cell. Like your cancer is not going to go, oh man, a basic diet. I guess I'm gone. It just doesn't work like that. What about scratches that damage the skin? Will they also increase the risk? I mean, yes, because it's technically causing, like, you're promoting DNA repair or like cellular repair, and you likely damage some cells. But I would not like freak out about that. If you freak out about like little damages to your skin or like little abrasions, you're gonna go crazy. Like you're gonna lose your mind trying to figure out how to avoid all that. Do low levels of UV alcohol smoking induce any sort of hormetic effect by engaging the protective mechanism of the body? Not that I have seen. We used to think that about things like alcohol. Like there was a lot of belief on like certain protective mechanisms, specifically I guess was wine, not just any alcohol, but like there's protective benefits of like drinking a glass of wine a night. But then as we do more research, stuff like that is not good. And we find more that it's better, your cancer risk is the lowest when you're completely abstained from carcinogenic behavior like that. It's rigged. It's just been going on and on. Thank you though, Gren. Thank you. I'm glad that you got it. Yeah, you don't have to panic, Joseph. Don't panic. I think panicking about your health is usually how problems can occur. Like, you don't want to get into a state of like, I need to avoid everything and I'm gonna get cancer. You're gonna like do more harm. Autoclaver? No. Don't. You don't have to do that, you guys. I heard that olive oil also prevents cancer. I don't know how valid that claim is. I'm sure there's some validity to it, but again, it's always like a fine balance. Even things that are like good for you. Oh my gosh. Well. Oh, bye, Gren. You guys are just hitting over and over. This is rigged. This is so rigged. Isn't stress also something that makes you more likely to get sick in general? Yes. Stress can add to feeling like, you know, your immune system kind of going haywire. People are kind of more prone to getting sick when they're stressed. They also just like induce sickness on themselves. How it correlates to cancer, though, I think it's kind of tenuous, the cancer risk. I was trying to look into this myself because there was a question on it, but there's like so much conflicting research on like how much of a risk factor it is. Probably because we don't have a great baseline of a person that's completely stress-free. We're trying to direct an evolution experiment to generate a steam-resistant Nico cell line. Exactly. I see. I mean, I think you guys are getting close. I keep coming back. Okay, let's go on. Again? Oh, it's not. It's actually didn't work. It didn't work. Haha. She's growing stronger every autoclave. I am. Anxiety, gut, brain axis, inflammation, cancer. Everything is so annoyingly connected in biology. It's great. It's great. It's so fascinating. It's hard not to think of it like how beautiful it is, how interconnected everything is. But then I also get pissed. You know, I also get mad. I exercise and I go, I'm so upset at how good this makes me feel, and it's probably making me like my health way better, but I hate doing it. How could they do this to me? And that's like the gist of how I feel. Or when I eat like right for like a week and I go, oh my gosh, the vegetables are actually doing something. Saving up for whatever that 550K is, it's to get you VIP. Like, I can make you a VIP member, and then you get like a pretty little pink thing next to your name, and you can say you're a VIP here, and everyone knows how cool you are. Okay, next question. Oh, wow! Weetabix, wow! The timing. I can make you VIP right this second. Wow! Okay, wait, I have to do this after. I was trying to do it, but it's getting too complicated, and I'm clicking around. Cool guy alert, they're so cool. I will get you after this, Weta. Really stole my thunder there. Turtle Concert Leader Tank the Turtle has approved your case for the useful information you spread. Thank you, Turtle Tank. Tank the Turtle. Thank you. I'm glad the Turtle Council approves of me. Okay, we're gonna talk about food now, because we keep talking. We did bring it up a lot. Oh, and thank you for the follow, Tank the Turtle. How do the food carcinogens spread? Didn't want to interrupt, but then someone mentioned it, so no, don't worry. That's so cool. What do you mean okay, you guys, you can't hate pickles over here. Okay, so food carcinogens, they usually come from charred foods, so smoked foods. These have like polycyclic or aromatic hydrocarbons. It's a fancy word for not very good molecules. And so when you eat them, they're absorbed through the intestines, and they enter circulation into your body. And from there, they're getting dragged around, and they're going to the liver, and the liver metabolizes it or breaks it down. And during that breakdown, they break that charred food down, like, it's not really the charred food anymore, but like a molecule of the charred food. They break it down, and those reactive intermediates from the breakdown can bind to DNA. Is the issue with PHAs that they're intercalators? Yeah, they can form DNA adducts, so they're like the chemical modification to the bases, and they distort that DNA double helix, and they cause miscoding damage during replication if it's not repaired. Like, if no one takes care of it, if our buddy TP53 doesn't come in and take care of it, it's going to cause a problem. And that's the understood way of how DNA damage from this food can happen. And should you be worried? Maybe partially, but again, is one barbecued meal and slightly burnt barbecue chicken going to cause cancer? Absolutely not. A lot of it gets cleared by our own body's detoxification system. So again, don't buy into some detox tummy tea or whatever. It's the problem of like repeat exposure. So like if you're constantly eating this kind of food, you're starting to get genotoxic stress. It's more like you're getting mutations that persist after each repair failure. So now I'm not allowed McDonald's or barbecues. You can eat them in moderation. It's all about moderation. How does smoked food compare to the burnt food? Like the Mexican peppers that you put right on the fire to char the skin. I think it's... I don't know the exact differences between smoked and burned. I would assume burned is likely worse for you. I'm not sure about like just but I can't say for sure. And I couldn't find any research really talking about it specifically. A lot of the research when it comes to food carcinogens are more focused on like smoked charred foods in general. Like they just kind of group it up. They talk mostly about red meat and red meats associated with colorectal cancer risk because of the heme iron that's in red meat. And they talk a lot about alcohol, which creates acetaldehyde in the liver, and that causes DNA cross-linking and the DNA damage. I feel like everything is labeled carcinogen these days. Yeah, we are learning a lot about our food that we're eating, and yeah, there's a lot of like potentially bad guys. What if I have no choice and my only option to cook food by using wood or charcoal? Even if your only option is that, I think the most important thing is making sure you can eat you're eating. Like, you have to eat. You shouldn't starve yourself and not eat just because that's like all you can, like if you can only cook through wood or charcoal, then those are your options. You need to eat still. Don't worry about the cancer damage. I think you have more problems to worry about. The cooking YouTubes need to hear that. So rare steak is healthier than well done. I believe I saw a study saying that well done might not be great compared to rare, but I think that study I didn't see enough definitive things to really say for sure. So I don't want to say it. I'm just saying red meat in general. Maybe someone could look into that more. I get something about all the tasty food that get blasted by a blowtorch, namely creme brulee and torch meats. I know, I mean, the heat, like that char, is a lot of flavor. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I think it's tasty. I'm a freak that eats well-done meat exclusively. That's crazy. I can't stand the well-done meat. Also, as long as you're cooking in a pan and not directly close, it's just the heat you're using. Yes, but it just gets to a point, like, if you start, you don't want to burn it. Don't burn it. The autoclave. Well, and again, I can't win. I feel like today has been not a good autoclave day for me. I read that steaming is probably the best way to cook food without introducing harmful stuff in the food. I'll have to find it later and share the Discord later. I have read that too. I also see a lot, like, I've seen some studies on that. I think it is likely the best way because it's just heating it up and there's very little chances of things like burned foods or PAHs like forming. But again, don't live your life. Don't live your life in that kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get cancer if I eat this. It's never gonna be just the one hamburger that gets you cancer, you guys. It's gonna be like, my life has been 10 years of eating McDonald's every single day. And even then, chances are you might not even get cancer. Like, I'm sure there's people out there who are living that life. I'm sure that there's probably some that are fine and then some that are unlucky. GG, unfortunately. What about cutting boards? Like, are microplastics really a massive issue? I don't know enough about like the microplastic. I don't know enough about the microplastic situation when it comes to like the biological aspects. I think it's everywhere, and you should try to avoid it. But it's also impossible to avoid because microplastics are everywhere, and I don't think we necessarily understand what it means to be in a microplastic world that we are in now. But it's probably better to avoid than keep like engaging with it. But again, I am no environmental scientist, and I have very limited like plastic chemistry knowledge. Yeah, I have nothing. Yeah, I think microplastics are very interesting, but it's so far out of my wheelhouse. It's hard for me to comment, and I also don't keep up enough with the research. I just know that it's everywhere, and I was sad when I learned like a lot of tea bags, like you know, like the tea, like the wrap teas, not just like loose leaf teas. I think those are like so much microplastic. I was reading like a chart from a study, and teas release so much microplastics if you use a bag tea. That's at the point where we're finding microplastics placenta. I think I'd say we're already cooked. We're probably cooked. I just don't know to the degree of what cookery we're in. I'm just a microplastic girl living in a microplastic world. I love my microplastic Velveeta cheese. I love tea. I like to dunk the bag. I think if you like tea, there are certain tea bags that are microplastic friendly or don't have microplastics. I don't know what the correct way to say it. There's also loose leaf teas. I love your Vita model. So cute. Thank you. Thank you. And my voice is also cute. My goodness, you're just showering me with compliments. Thank you. MX Steak. Thank you. Thank you. And then the next. Oh my gosh, we can shower together if you want. Okay, no, okay. Yeah, okay. I have a silicone thing for tea that has been great. I think that's also a problem. I always have trouble replacing. I have so many things that are plastic. Sometimes I throw plastic things in my dishwasher and I go, I think I'm just like I'm releasing so much microplastics into my life right now. But then I can't be bothered to find non-plastic alternatives. I think I'm supposed to change everything to metal, but it's so expensive. We have to live on the edge though. It's the only thrill if I can't have McDonald's or barbecues. You know, it's okay to have your McDonald's. Oh, thank you for the follow, MX Steak. Metal and glass, yeah. Metal glass is like the way to go. After I see this, I bite into the bag and eat them. Oh my. Okay, Possum. That might be the craziest thing I've read. He's biting. That's a crazy one. Maybe don't bite it. Unless you get the special tea bags that don't have microplastics. Okay, next question. Why do some heavy smokers or drinkers just never get cancered? Is this just luck? Yes, in a way. It's just luck. It sucks to say it's just luck. It sucks to say that it's unfair and there's luck involved in this. Like everyone has different variances in cancer susceptibility, and it just comes from like your RNG genetics. Like you have certain variants, especially like carcinogen metabolism genes, like things like what do you call it? Like I'm trying to remember, CYP1A1, GSTM1, things like that. They can affect how you metabolize certain carcinogens. And so if you just unlucky rolled that those genes suck for you, like they don't function as well, you just sorry. Oh, that's not very nice to say. Hey, MX Steak, that's not very nice to say. Do you have these written on your wall or something? Very impressive. I know, I'm just digging through, my brain and some notes. I didn't have these written on, I didn't have those genes specifically written on my notes, unfortunately. That's why I had to dig into my brain. I should have wrote it. I should have written it. There's a direct correlation in cancer screening and cancer diagnosis. If you never go to the doctor, you won't get cancer. True. True. Other factors aside from germline, there's things like you might have increased susceptibility, but there's also things like maybe you are just high rolled and you have better DNA repair capabilities than another person. Like you just are able to mismatch repair your DNA much better than another person, even though you drink a lot. Like, so you're able to clear damage way faster and you don't really accumulate mutations. It's all luck. It's just all luck. Some people's immune systems are just better. Think about like people that get sick very often and then other people that don't get really sick. That's like DNA repair mogging. It's literally immune mogged, DNA repair mogged, everything. And also, even disregarding, your individual capabilities, sometimes it's also just luck. If you rolled a bad event, like you rolled a bad mutation after you drank, and that's it. Okay, well, there's an ad break coming, so I'm just gonna like pause on this question here while I take a sip. It sucks that cancer is a lot of like RNG rolls. Sometimes you can do everything you got. Like you can take all the precautions you want. You can make sure you're eating well. You can make sure you have, good sleep. You put sunscreen on, and then just things happen. You get the one bad mutation, or you were born in a family with not so nice genetics, and that's it. And then you stare at somebody that's like drinking every Friday, like they're downing many beer, and they just are getting away with it. They're just getting away with it. How can they get away with it? Have you watched Cells at Work? If so, is it accurate? I actually watched. I don't remember. I don't think I finished it. I watched maybe the first season. I don't know if there was more than that. I think there was. I think there's a lot of like things that I probably have not watched, but it looked pretty accurate to me from what I saw. I didn't watch enough of it to say the accuracy of how wherever the story goes after I watched it. It was like a cute way to represent the immune system and cells. I liked it. I think it was very cute. I don't know why I didn't finish watching it. Maybe I should watch that. Maybe we can do a watch along one of these days. We can do like a Discord watch along of Cells at Work. Since cancer is RG, I'm eating watermelon right now to at least increase the odds for myself. Yellow watermelon specifically. Very yummy. Oh, that sounds yummy. I wish I had fruit. I need to go grocery shopping for fruit myself. I know eugenics is frowned upon from an ethics standpoint, and it seems like a slippery slope for any government to fiddle with it, but it's possible in theory to breed stronger immune systems. In theory, yes. It's going to be very complicated, though, because, I mean, we already have a lot of, it's a very complex piece. It's not like immune system isn't like, you can't just like select for stronger immune system. It's so deeply balanced, And the things that you're affecting might cause problems elsewhere. So let's say you are like tuning for a very much more aggressive aggro immune response. You could accidentally like overshoot that, and now you have like a autoimmune risk. Now you're like, you might be fighting yourself. Like it's not doing a good job detecting like, oh, that's me, guys, and versus now it's just hitting everything. There's also like issues. Let's say we tune it up a little bit more and say, well, now it has better diversity. Now it can detect a broader range of different pathogens that are going to attack me. And now I'm going to capture even more. And then, if you ever need an organ transplant, that might be complicated. I think it can also be a complication when it comes to pregnancy. Your immune system, if it has too much of a diverse, broad range of targets, it might see, the fetus as something it should attack. Coming back from home is a pretty tough choice. It's either free food or freedom. I do like free food, especially when it comes to food prices now. Food is so expensive, so I could take some free food. Watching sounds fun. It does sound fun. I love some anti-cancer watermelon. I love watermelon. It's that time of year for watermelon, too. It's a lot to think about. Exactly. It's really difficult to think about. I think, in theory, it's possible. I don't know about practicality, though. And that is, so many times in biology, huh? I feel like so often I say, yeah, in theory that can happen, but practically, probably not. Okay, we're moving on. We're getting close. We're getting close to the end. Why does lack of sleep increase cancer risk? So, sleep has so many different cancer-relevant processes happen. And it's really important to sleep. It's really important to sleep, guys. You should get your big 8 hours of sleep if you can. You are missing out on so much healing that's happening and repair that's happening when you decide not to sleep. When you go to sleep, you're allowing DNA repair to happen upregulated. Now it's happening more often. You're allowing immune surveillance. That means the natural killer cell and T cell functions, they're peaking while you're sleeping. Melatonin production is a big one too. Melatonin has antioxidant effects, anti-proliferative cell effects, as in they're stopping cells from growing too much. And it helps regulate your cortisol. I know this sounds... You want to be low cortisol, no high cortisol. It's like the memes, don't have high cortisol. Elevated cortisol, no good. I'm in a massive amount of sleep debt. No, 210. No, you guys, we need to sleep. We need to sleep. No, you guys are all not. You guys need to go to sleep. In addition to the sleep is extremely important to prevent neuroinflammation. Strong correlation with neuro disorders like dementia. Yes, it's very true. You want the brainwashing effect. When you sleep, it washes over your brain and really clears a lot of the bad guys. What about critters like birds and dolphins that utilize unihemispheric sleep? We have to start co-opting whatever they got going on. I actually have no clue how that correlates to their biology. I wish I knew more about animal biology. I had a chance to take more animal biology classes when I was in school, and I completely decided not to because I'd rather do infectious disease courses. And alas, now I can't answer these questions. Sleep is for the weak. I'm a weak person. I need so much sleep. If I don't have the 7 hours of sleep, I'll be so tired the whole day. And there's also studies if you have a disrupted circadian rhythm, as in if you are working the night shift, you have increased cancer risk. It's pretty bad. It's actually it's a carcinogen. It's listed as a group 2A carcinogen. I think that's similar to red meat if you work a night shift. So if you can avoid night shifts, it's good for you, but I know not everyone has that. Not everyone can really pick and choose that kind of thing. If you're given a night shift, you're just given a night shift. But it sucks that that can increase cancer risk. Sleep is just death being shy, some guy horrifying. They can answer infectious disease questions. All as well. I guess that's true. But sometimes I think animals are so cool. I wish I knew more about animal biology. 7 hours is not a lot of sleep. I find like 7 is usually like I'm good enough. Like I'm pretty good. But sometimes I can like, depending on how bad things are, as in like I haven't slept well for a few days, I can like end up sleeping like 10 hours. Sometimes I've had Sundays where I wake up and I've slept for like 11 hours because I'm just so tired. I have to collect all my sleep debt. Okay, sleep is good. Sleep is good, you guys. Why are cancer survivors at higher risk of additional cancers? This is kind of sad to think about. It does suck. Like, you would think, oh my gosh, this person survived cancer, but then they have a higher risk of additional cancer. Why? Why is that? How can they do that to them? So often the secondary primary cancer occurs because if this person has a germline risk factor, as in like it's in their genetics, it's not like a random mutation. This is just like they were born with something that drove that first cancer. So like, let's say a BRCA mutation. BRCA usually confers a risk in breast cancer. They could also have a risk that also correlates to a risk in ovarian cancer and pancreatic cancer. So it's really sad. So someone could, overcome breast cancer and they're in remission for that, but maybe they eventually get ovarian cancer. Sad. Very sad. There's also, when you get treatments like chemotherapy and radiation, those are genotoxic, as in they cause malignancies themselves. There's like specific treatment-related malignancies. They are called therapy-related myelodysplastic syndrome, acute myeloid leukemia after alkylating agents. Like, it sucks that like you get treated for something and then all of a sudden now you have a new cancer that's from that treatment. How could they do that? I always think about, like, when I see patients with those disorders, I feel so sad. Then there's also the chance of like cancer survivors they haven't addressed a certain lifestyle or environmental exposure. So if you treat someone's cancer and they are in remission, but then they go back to the same lifestyle or same environment that caused them the cancer, well, they're going to get cancer again. And it's not exactly a higher risk, it's just they're going back to that same risk. There is always also differences for cancer survivors. Not all cancer survivors are going to get an additional cancers. Again, it's RNG. There's different germline variants that contribute to this. There's comorbidities. It's always going to be different. It sucks. It's really unfortunate. The radiation treatment itself has a chance of creating cancer as well. Yeah. And that can be dependent, again, on a different genetic risk. Like DPYD can increase how toxic certain chemotherapies are, because that's a gene that helps with the metabolism of certain drugs. If you also are just someone that, like, cancer can be really hard on the body, and if it worsens some of your organ function, such as like your kidney and liver, that can also affect drug clearance, and that can contribute to some treatment-related side effects. You can also travel. Lost my aunt last year to pancreatic because she had chemo, but it traveled to major organs. Yeah. And it's also just a chance, like, cancer survivors are at higher risk of additional cancers because we talked a bit about elimination and how the body can't really detect exactly when things are eliminated. We just know it's cleared to the highest degree of sensitivity we can offer. But if we can't see it, there can still be a bit, and who knows where that cancer might travel somewhere else, might cause problems in the future. It's just sad. Oh, I feel like I should have mixed. I think I meant to mix these questions, but I can keep going. Why do treatment side effects vary so much between patients? Again, this is all about genetic factors, pre-existing organ functions, your tumor molecular profile, and yeah, there's some things you just really don't have a control in. It's hard to even say that to predict how someone might function. You have to kind of understand their whole health profile. You kind of have to know what kind of like genetics this person has. You can't even use age. There's also like, you would think, oh, this 60-year-old guy is going to not be able to tolerate chemo as well as this 25-year-old guy. But that's not exactly true, because age is kind of a poor predictor. There's so much more comorbidities to think about. You just have to know genetically what this kind of person is, their health. If the 60-year-old guy is more fit and like has healthier organs than the 25-year-old guy who's smoking and drinking and his organ function doesn't work as well, and he's got certain genetic factors, he probably is not going to tolerate the chemo treatment as well as the 60-year-old healthy guy. Why are plants associated with cancer? Why are plants found with anti-cancer effects? I wrote it differently in my notes. This one's kind of fascinating because I'm also not a plant biologist, but I do know that so many plants do have anti-cancer effects, and they were kind of the first place we've looked at for medicine. You could say you need a digital twin of the patient. True, Josem, you took that lesson. I'm proud of you. So, plants are often found to have these phytochemicals or secondary metabolites because they are kind of like in the middle of a lot. Think about like where a plant is. It's out in the world. It has to get sun rays. It has to fight so many animals. It has pathogens all around it. They have to develop so many defenses to be able to withstand surviving out in the world and being able to flourish and spread their seed and grow elsewhere and propagate. So it's important that they have ways in their plant biology pathways to stop this. And it's kind of like a lot of it can be looked at in how it can relate to cancer biology. There's things like sulfur, like... I don't really want to mention that one because I don't have that much notes on it. But broccoli, I'm just going to go with the plants. Broccoli and like cruciferous vegetables, they have special detoxification enzymes, and they have epigenetic effects. They can like withstand demethylation and methylation pathways. These are all very central to cancer biology. Detoxification is very important. We want to understand better about how drugs are, moved through the body, and how harmful things are moved through the body and detoxified. Grapes have very special anti-inflammatory molecules. The clinical evidence is limited. Again, it's these plants. We can't just like eat some grapes, and we can't just eat some broccoli and say this is very anti-cancer. I'm gaining all this anti-cancer effects just through eating it. It's good. Yes, the clinical evidence, as Prax says, the clinical evidence of like applying this to treating your cancer is very limited. It's cool to understand why, like how these plants have these anti-cancer like molecules. And it's interesting to think about how they could potentially be applied to a human like cancer biology pathway. but we can't just like take the molecule and then try to figure out how to make it anti-cancer. And eating a broccoli, just one broccoli, is not going to stop you from getting cancer. Does lettuce have anything? It likely does. I mean, I think a lot of these vegetables, when I looked at it, there was a long list of different like anti-cancer molecules in vegetables. But again, you have to kind of take a lot of these things with a grain of salt, because so many people want to say like you can treat cancer through like eating certain like diets, and I will give them the mindset's in the right place. Like, if you eat more vegetables and fruits, they do have lower incidence rates of certain cancers, but it doesn't mean that the compound of these vegetables, the molecular compound, is not active ingredient, and it's not gonna like, we can't just utilize it for anti-cancer effects. It doesn't mean that, It's good for you. They're good for you. As we talked about how health is important when it comes to anti-cancer. You want to be healthy. You want to be at the tippity top of your health. But we can't just take some veins from broccoli and go, yeah, I'm detoxifying everything bad in my body. Let me photosynthesis real quick and I'll get back to you. Okay, good luck with that. Isn't it like late at night? Where does research money for cancer go? It's a very good question. It's a very good question. Everyone wants to know where cancer research money goes. I think this is a very popular question, especially in the Western countries, as we are really, I would say, not even Western countries, in America, where things are getting chopped down when it comes to cancer research funding. People are not really, we're getting a lot less funding, unfortunately, from government, and there's more private funding coming through. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions with how cancer research money, or just research money in general, tends to go. So when you are giving money to cancer research, it goes to a lot of different things. It's not just, it's going towards the research, but the research requires a lot, is what you have to remember. There are people you need to pay. You need to pay for the building. You need to pay for the room. You need to pay for the people that take care of the building. You need to pay for the administrators that are handling budget-related things, HR-related things. That money also needs to go to the supplies. You need to pay for the technology. You need to pay for everything. It's very expensive. And you might think, like, why is only a little bit go to, like, the research itself? But it's, like, it can't all go to, like, one-to-one to the research. The research is part of the building. You can't do research without a building. It's curious how foods with anti-inflammatories seem to reduce cancer. So I'll have to ask what the relationship between inflammation and cancer is. I'm definitely happy to talk about that. I don't know if that was a question in there or not, but if it's not, we can talk about it on Discord. A lot of tech is very expensive. You have to pay for the autoclave. We don't need to pay for the autoclave. The research is part of a whole ecosystem. Exactly. You can't not pay the janitors and people taking care of your trash. If you don't have the trash, like, who's going to take care of that? That needs to get paid for one way or the other. It's a bit silly. Sometimes I see the misconception that we talked about in cancer before, but this is more about cancer research specifically rather than cancer. It's the common misconception that there's this cure that exists and Big Pharma is hiding it, and they'd rather just people suffer and take grant money. And I'm thinking, my goodness, like, do you know, like, that just doesn't work. There is no magical cure for cancer. It's, first of all, not, like we said, it's not a disease. It's not one disease. You have so many things you would have to target. Put on the tinfoil hats. No, no, no. Take off the tinfoil hats. Take off the tinfoil hats. If there was a magical cure, I would be amazed. But when you look at all the people doing research, I'm pretty sure they wish they had a magical cure too. They can make so much bank for having the miracle drug that tinfoil hatters think they're hiding. I think that too. This is a little different, but there used to be like talk about how if there was a drug that made people lose weight, they'd never release it because they make so much more money from making people fat and like overweight and all that. But now we're actually seeing that there's a drug that can make people lose a lot of weight, and they released it and it's making huge amounts of money, like billions of dollars. So I don't know, man. I made them for everyone. Okay, I'll take your tinfoil hat, lettuce. I can take it. I think it would be absolutely getting sold. Whoever sells it would be the richest corporation. I mean, look at how much money Eli Lilly is making right now from GLP-1 medication alone. They are like one of the richest companies now. They were already well ahead of the game, but they are going absolutely bonkers, crazy mode, sicko mode with their GLP-1. There are so many things that money goes to. People always forget that the imaging core are shared assets that make everyone's research. Oh yeah, exactly. There's also the cores. Those giant flow cytometry cores and imaging cores, those gotta get paid by, like, someone needs to pay for that. There's also, like, electronic infrastructure too. Like, someone needs to pay for all the biobanks and data sharing and sequencing capacities. That's not free. Also, clinical trials. Clinical trials is a big one, especially in cancer research, that eats up so much money. That one is so expensive. I'm ignorant about what cores are. I'm gonna have to read about it. I mean, cores. I like the word cores because I think it sounds a lot cooler. It's like mostly like facilities that usually harbor very specialized equipment. You can definitely look into it. If we get rid of all the cause of death, we'll get a darling in the Franks Society. Oh man, I actually don't remember much of what happens in Darling in the Franks. I feel like all I remember in Darling in the Franks is it was very strange. It was very, like, a lot of on-the-nose metaphors. Okay, we're going next. I'm sorry, I have to, like, Control F find my notes because all of them have gotten all over the place. Like, it's no longer in any kind of order. I don't know what happened. If the equipment building and other research needs are privately owned by the science, would it help with the cost? If it were privately owned, like as in like none of it was government funded. I mean, I think there are places. I think I've seen that there's some science labs that are now almost like it's startups usually that are primarily like funded through other businesses. I don't know how well that is going. Like, it's very rare to see research that is like completely like especially like non-pharmaceutical. Like, if it's just like startups that are doing general research, seeing them not funded by government is very rare. Hello, Gren. Welcome back. Alt F4 helps me. Haha, good. That's a good one. Just different support groups that don't do research directly but aid those that need their services. Things like microscopy, genetic. Yeah. The flow cytometry core was like my favorite core to work with in graduate school. They were such nice people, and they were so smart. It's crazy that they I would be amazed that they don't do their own research, but they are so knowledgeable and so helpful. And like, I was always surprised at how much they knew about immunology specifically. And I get they probably know specific things based on the school's department and like who they're interacting with mostly. But my goodness, their knowledge of like immunology was astounding. They would tell me straight up, "This isn't going to work," and I'd be like, "Oh, okay." So why are some cancers asymptomatic if our immune system attacks foreign things? So this is like the misconception of cancer isn't really foreign. It's your own cells. They're just a little bad, a little naughty, well, just a little naughty overgrowing guy. You always trust the technician's expertise and opinions. I literally trusted them with my life, and I'm sure they've helped. They've guided me from some bad times. Just a little naughty cancer cell. And cancer is exceptionally good at mimicking like what is normal. I feel like I've said immune evasion so many times, but it's immune evasion. When they're surveilling, they are looking for certain patterns of damage and infection, but if they're evading, then they won't get caught. So by the time a symptom actually appears, the tumor usually has created like in a micro environment, like it's its own kind of like bubble, so to speak, and it's immunosuppressive. Now it's got a bubble of dampened immune activity, and inside that bubble, there's immune cells that are exhausted, neutralized, and maybe they've even converted in a way to help the tumor rather than fight it. It's again all immune. Technicians are always better than the people helping with experiment insert. Yeah. Those cells are going into timeout indefinitely. That's what therapy is. So, internal tumors, they don't really have like nerve endings, and if they're slow growing, they slowly displace the tissue around it, and enough that the body is compensating like silently. And so symptoms are often appearing when a tumor hits critical infrastructure, like a blood vessel, a duct, or a nerve. And that's where the pain, that's where symptoms start to appear. That's when it goes, it's over, it's time, something is wrong. Okay. We're close to the finishing point here. How do cancer cells differ in ways that require different treatments? So, two cancers of the same type can have completely different molecular profiles. I kind of touched upon this briefly. It's not even with the right colon and the left colon. Like, those are just two completely different tissues in general. But now I'm talking about, let's say a breast cancer. There can be a breast cancer that's driven by estrogen receptor signaling, and that requires a hormone blockade treatment, which is simple enough. But there can be a breast cancer that's driven by a certain protein called HER2, and it's amplified. There's too much of it, and now you need a different kind of therapy. Now you need an anti-HER2 therapy. And then there could be breast cancer that's called triple negative, which means it has none of these, and it needs to get treated a completely different way. And it's also, that one's really hard to treat. Triple negative breast cancer is very, very difficult because there's no little guy to attack. There's no estrogen receptor to attack. There is no HER2 to attack. The same organ can produce cancers that look and behave differently, and they feel like they're entirely different diseases, but they are still of the same organ. And that's kind of it's very fascinating. And that's why this will be likely posted on Discord, but I'll try to see if I can get this giant tree that I use at work. I have to just make sure it's okay for me to share it, because I think it's somebody at work who made it. They use this tree, and you can kind of see all the different kinds of cancers per tissue type. And there's like, you click breast, and there's like 50 different types of breast cancer that open up, and they all have different treatment requirements. Is type 3 the type that usually ends up in mastectomies? Yes, because usually you need to just get rid of all the breast tissue, because there's no other way to treat it, unfortunately. Blanket alkylate the lot of them? Yeah. I am such a biomarker specific person. That's like most of my work I do is biomarker precision oncology. It's always hard for me to remember, there's like ways that are not specific to biomarkers, but I'm so like, I love biomarkers so much. I think biomarker specific treatments are so cool. So, but speaking of targeted therapies, like we said that there could be HER2 amplified breast cancer, but you could also use a that could occur in a different tissue, and you might use the same kind of treatment on that just because it's HER2 driven. And so it's more about like what's causing that cancer to happen versus the lung, versus if it's in a different tissue completely. Would you bringing attention to your coworkers be safe? I know a lot of employers get weird when they find out their employers live differently. Bring attention to your streaming persona. Well, I would make sure it's completely like de-identified. I would likely can't give the website. I just want to show a picture of it. There likely would be no way you'd find out, but I could. That's why I have to double check. If not, I can always just draw a representative picture. And okay, we have 4 more. What if you'd redraw it? The problem is it's not very nice. It would be a lot to redraw. I can show you it. Can you share your notes from the stream on Discord? Yeah, I can share my note page. I can share it. Could we ever discover an ultimate cure? I don't think we could. Unlikely. If you didn't know already, it's unlikely that we would ever have a single ultimate cure to cancer, because cancer isn't a single disease. I don't know how many times I have to say it, but I'm gonna say it over and over again, because, you know, until it sticks, and then even when you think it sticks, there might be new people, so I will say it again and again. But even though we might not have a miracle cure to cancer, there is, you know, happy prospects of it, that the landscape of incurable cancers is shrinking. There's a lot of cancers that were considered fatal 20 years ago, like leukemias, melanomas, and now that has meaningful survival. The future of a miracle is probably going to be, the realistic thing is going to be that it's going to be paired with earlier detection methods, as in we're screening earlier, we're screening more accurately and precisely. Like, we have liquid biopsies, we have AI screening technologies, we have more personalized targeted therapy approaches that can look at that can work for everyone's exact tumor mutations. And we might have like ways to better train the immune system to recognize and eliminate cancer long term and keep it protective and prevent you from leaving remission. It's difficult because I think those 3 options. Oh my gosh, what? Oh, it's ended the video. Sad. Why did it have like a French voiceover at the end? Very weird. So no definite cure to the start of cancers, but better ways to treat them. Yeah, I think it's going to be better ways to treat them, better ways to detect them, and better ways to prevent you from getting cancer again. And all of it should be more personalized, is a big part of it. Instead of like having things that are blanket good. We could figure out what's good for you specifically based on what your cancer is. And that's going to be like, that's still quite far, but we're getting better at it and we're making a lot of progress. If cancer is evolving, can a treatment be made? And I took this not as like a single, like, can a treatment for like all cancers be made, but more like if one cancer type keeps evolving, how can we make a treatment? That's how I interpreted this question. If this is your question and you don't like how I interpreted it, I'm sorry. So within a single tumor, there's a lot of populations of cells with different mutations, and that's called intratumoral heterogeneity. So treatment, we give it a treatment, and that kills the sensitive population, and then what doesn't die is resistant, and it survives and repopulates, and now we have this population of resistant tumors. So we do our best to fight this and strategize on how to address this. We try to do things called combination therapies that target multiple different signaling pathways at once, and that kind of makes it so the cancer can't use a certain escape route and resist. It's also referred to as like evolutionary steering. You kind of want to guide it to a cancer that might be less dangerous. There's also options like giving a targeted treatment and then also giving something that will help bolster your immune response against the cancer. And so like we're hitting the cancer directly, and we're also making sure the immune system can clean up. Scientific growth is exponential, so maybe not as far along as we may think. It is going really fast, especially when it comes to how technology, like I think targeted therapy technology has come a long way in just like the last decade, and I think it's going to keep going and going. Same kind of mechanism as bacterial resistance, just like why they use multiple antibiotics in conjunction. Yeah, exactly. Resistance is a very tricky topic in cancer because there's so many pathways to keep in mind, and it's similar to like bacterial resistance. Is this like how a virus adapts? There's evolutionary reasoning of why these things are adapt the way they do. They don't want to be destroyed. And who does? The goal is ideally to prevent resistance, is you completely eradicate and eliminate it. But, we talked about how complete elimination is very difficult to figure out. Sometimes you think you completely eliminated it because now it's not being detected, but perhaps you didn't completely eliminate it. And there's also the cancer stem cell theory that we talked about earlier too, where there could be a population of tumor cells that do live and they're able to repopulate and grow beyond what you anticipated signaling pathways. In electronics, we're hitting a bit of a ceiling in some parts, and it may be a little bit before new technology can be thought of and made to break the ceiling. It's difficult when it comes to biology. I think there's still, when I look at the papers being released every week, I think there's a lot of huge strides being made, but it feels like we're hitting like a limit on how there's just still, things just take too much time is the big problem here. We still don't have a way to really speed up the process. There's so many things screening, like new screening technologies, especially when it comes with AI, like protein modeling and drug modeling. There's things like detecting new potential cancer targets really fast, and then we're doing cell computational models and saying, oh yeah, this would be a good target. This would be really good. But it's really... that part's fast and all, but we still take so much time to like test what's this like in humans and what's this like in an animal. It's hydrate the microbe. Thank you, Possum. It's complicated. I'm curious what's like going to be like the real next breakthrough when it comes to science advancements. I think some of the AI technology has been great when it comes to the detection part of cancer research. They've been doing a lot better at detecting certain cancers because of like AI screenings, which is good. And I think liquid biopsies are coming a long way too. But it's there's still a lot when it comes to the treatment part, and the treatment is always going to be pretty important because, you know, if you don't have the treatment, it's nice that we're able to detect all of it, but it's not, what do we do when we detect it? I've heard cancer cells don't undergo aging like normal cells do. How is this? It's not really the same kind of like aging cycle. They kind of break the cycle. They don't really follow the normal cell cycle. It's kind of the whole point. They're hijacking a normal cell's cell cycle. They can divide basically indefinitely, which is what not a normal cell can't really do that when it's not hijacked. Mucho tacos. I do like tacos. What's the basic idea of a liquid biopsy? So a liquid biopsy is supposed to be less invasive than like grabbing a piece of the tissue from a solid tumor. Especially because certain tumors you can't even do that. Like you can't really do a biopsy, at least of a brain. You can't do biopsy of, you know, blood cancers. So the idea is you would take blood sample and then you would sequence that and look for circulating tumor DNA, which is like the signature of tumors. The hard part is, like, right now is trying to figure out what those signatures are. It's really difficult to figure out what the signatures mean and how accurate they are, and also what the signatures for each cancer type are. And then also it comes down to, well, what do we do with this signature now? Like we know that it has this signature. How do we treat it? It's a work in progress. But it's very good. Very good. It's much better than getting a chunk of tissue. Okay. Do you know what the relationship between brown fat and cancer? This was a question regarding my graduate research topic. So when I was doing my PhD, my topic was on brown fat, and brown fat is a special kind of adipose tissue that's thermogenic, as in it generates heat rather than storing energy like white fat. My research was looking at how this brown fat could be utilized to prevent aging in older mice. Like, if we could we know that brown fat exists in young mice and young humans, but it gets lessened as we age. And so the idea was, like, what if this brown fat's really important to prevent aging, like aging related disorders? What if we can restore brown fat in older mice? But I didn't get in my research I found a lot of different immune cells are populated in brown fat, and that's really cool. I like doing that. That was interesting. Very difficult to see how that would translate in humans, but very interesting. So the idea behind this, I think the question is, what's the relationship between brown fat and cancer? Is, so if brown fat is this metabolically active fat compared to white fat, what if it's competing for resources with the tumor cells? So what if it's eating up the glucose and lipids, and could the tumor, like, hypothetically get starved out because they are glucose hungry? They need a lot of resources, you know? So when BAT, which is brown adipose tissue, when BAT is activated, it can outcompete tumor for fuel, and that tumor growth is actually slowed down in mouse models, which is very cool. That's very, very fascinating. They've seen it in rodent models, but the problem is we don't really have that much brown fat as an adult, so it would be very difficult to imagine how we can, like, utilize that effect. How could we see that? We would kind of first need my research project, which is how can we induce more brown fat growth in adult humans. But since we don't know how to do that, then we don't really know how we can help humans like have their brown fat outcompete the tumor for resources. But in the same vein, there is research that is kind of similar. They've showed that like if you do fast, like you calorically restrict, you can reduce certain like glucose and growth factors, and there's suggestions. I'm not saying that it does. There's suggestions that it could slow down cancer growth. Again, it's very tenuous data, and I don't just go on a fast like just cuz. Do that. Talk to a doctor. I'm not your medical advisor here. I've never heard of brown fat before. I mean, most people haven't. It's so teeny tiny. It's like in your clavicle region, and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. In mice, when I had to open up the mice and collect them, it was really small little pockets of fat that I had to pull out. Are the signatures often present in such a concentration to be amplified, be measured in blood? I think that's one of the problems too, is like how you have to have quite sensitive detection methods. And I don't think we're entirely there yet. So cancer cells can live forever if they're cultivated. Doesn't that feel like having an immortal part of someone live on? Well, that's funny you say that, because that is like a cancer, that's like a cell line. They have what they call HeLa cells, which are an immortalized cancer cell line. It's one of the oldest human cell lines even. They took those cells specifically from a woman named Henrietta Lacks, and now she lives on forever and ever as a cancer research, important part of cancer research. It's a pretty controversial thing that she, like, what they did. Like, I don't think they really compensated her when they took her cancers, like when they took her cells. Yeah, they took it. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Her cells have done a lot of important work. No way I'm taking your medical advice if it's McDonald's adverse. Okay. I don't think she was even aware that her cells were going to be perpetuated. Yeah, I think that's true. She wasn't even aware, which is even worse. I think it's pretty fascinating to live on forever, and you have your own whole cancer cell line, and it's done so much good work, but it's not fair. It's not right. It's not right to do that. I learned about Henrietta Lacks in high school. Pretty controversial. Yeah, I mean, I think her family fought pretty hard too, because they didn't even realize what happened to either after her death. Okay, I think we have two more. Are there bacteria that contribute to cancer? This one's about me. There's a lot of well-established connections. So Helicobacter pylori is kind of like the most common understood research bacteria, and that has contributed to cancer. So H. pylori can contribute to gastric inflammation, and that gastric inflammation can cause stomach cancer. It's a pretty clear-cut causal link, There's things there's also other strains of E. coli as well that can produce certain metabolites that are genotoxins that damage DNA directly. That one's not the close, most clear-cut link, but we know that the metabolites do cause DNA damage. It's not H. pylori is the king of gastric inflammation into stomach cancer. We know a bacteria that contributes to cancer research. That's true. I'm not contributing to cancer, but I'm contributing to the research. Mechanistically, how does the H. pylori induce such aid cancer formation? So the main cause, so I think it has to do with a specific pathway that I am not familiar. I'm not familiar with the name of this pathway, but I think it has to do with how the metabolites it creates attacks your gut, like the mucosal lining of your gut, and that causes gastritis, and then the gastritis it causes certain dysplasia, and then that dysplasia causes adenocarcinoma. That's how I think the pathway goes. I'm sure I'm missing some steps. It's really complicated. I feel like I've tried to look this up before, but it's really hard to, it's kind of hard to follow along the information. Sometimes microbiology, bacterial, like medical research is so difficult because there's so many metabolites and physiological pathways at play. A big part of all these like bacteria that contribute to cancer is mostly like inflammation. And it goes along, I guess, like you were asking, Possum, like what is inflammation, like what's its role in cancer? Like persistent inflammation is really bad because it can create reactive oxygen and nitrogen species that directly damage DNA. And also chronic inflammation is like a background noise. Think of it like as background noise that makes it difficult for your immune system to realize what it's supposed to do. Like they don't know, like there's noise, there's something beeping for your immune system to do at all times, all over the body, but now it doesn't know exactly where it needs to go. It doesn't know that there's actual damage happening over there. It's because there's beeping happening literally everywhere. Okay, this is bacteria turning on cancer or the world's healing. Bacteria, for the most part, are very good, though. Don't get me wrong. The bacteria are mostly good. We have a lot of important gut microbiome bacteria, guys. If we didn't have them, we'd be more susceptible to a lot of damage. Oh, thank you for the follow, Banria Dreams. Yeah, once you get the textbooks, learning about talking beef can be tricky if there's not a good comprehensive. Yeah, I was like looking at specific like research papers, and I was like, my goodness, this is like getting beyond me, and I feel like I know quite a bit. One of the important bacteria is me? That's so nice of you to say. There's a whole emerging field right now in cancer biology about the gut microbiome specifically, and how the gut microbiome might be affecting cancer metabolism, or carcinogen metabolism, I should say, and how that contributes to tumor formation. But that one's like very emerging. There's even research on the tumor microbiome, which is another very fascinating field, which is that the bacteria could be colonizing tumors and affecting immunity and drug metabolism when we target tumors. That is wild in itself. But very emerging, very emerging. I think there's, in the coming years, we're gonna see a lot of microbiome research finally pan out. I think right now it's still up in the air. We just know it's important. We just have this feeling that it's important, but it's not just yet. Oh, a gift sub for Joseph. Thank you. Can you talk? Oh, no, I read before I clicked. Can you tell me more about folding at home? This was someone on the... I talked a bit about folding at home before, but it's a very cool program, and I think it's worth talking about again. Folding at Home is a distributed computing project that uses idle processing power from people's volunteer computers worldwide to simulate protein folding. It's how the proteins adopt their 3D functional shape. So why this is important in cancer is many times oncoproteins are misfolding or adopting weird conformations. And if we can really understand why and how they're misfolded, it's kind of good to get an idea of how we could design possibly a drug that binds and disables them. And brute force molecular dynamics simulation is kind of just like very, very, very computationally dense. It can take so much processing power to run that, to figure out exactly how this protein is folding, this one protein. Sounds like a telemarketing. It kind of does. This program got a lot of like hype during COVID, especially because it helped model the spike protein. It also has contributed a lot to like undruggable proteins and trying to figure out exactly how we can make the undruggable druggable. How do we start X-ray crystallography at home? Gosh, I really liked doing X-ray crystallography. Those were the most frustrating experiments, but were they also so fulfilling when they actually worked? Prions, yeah, prions. So Folding at Home has a website. I can recommend you check it out if you have any idle processing power. If you want to just leave it on and give them your processing power to fold proteins, sure, recommend it. I think that's it. Okay, that is it. We did it. I can't believe we actually went through all 20... It's like mining Bitcoin for a noble cause. Exactly. Let them mine Bitcoin, but for cancer drugs. We did all 26 questions. It only took 3 hours. That wasn't as bad. I was worried it was going to take 4 hours. Sweet victory. You guys all had really good questions. I said I was going to answer questions only at the end, but then I ended up answering everyone's questions in the beginning, like throughout, and oopsie, that's my bad. But you guys always have such good questions, and I like hearing the questions. I can't help myself. Yippee! Anyway, this was very... I really enjoyed our Cancer Research Month Science Friday streams. I'm saddened it's going to be over now, but we'll have other topics to go over this time. No more cancer for a bit, but chances are the cancer will come back as it always does because I can't stop talking about it, but we'll have some other ideas. I don't think next Friday, I don't know if I'll have something. I have to come up with an idea before I make a schedule. This month felt really short. It did. It really flew by, huh? I'm already surprised. This year is already flying by. I can't believe it's about to be halfway. How is that possible? I don't know how time be flying like that. There's a leak in time. I'm convinced. I'm convinced too. I am not sure I actually lived through 6 months already. Anyway, tomorrow I have another stream. It's gonna be 5 p.m. EST. Do you do drawing streams often? I try to do them. I do them pretty often. I think I usually have one once a week. This is like a week where I don't have it. I have a gaming stream tomorrow. I am playing Mina the Hollower, which is the new game that the Shovel Knight developers came out with. I'm pretty excited for it. I heard so many good things. So I'll be playing that. Of course, I can yap with you guys still as I'm playing, but I will be gaming. So I will see you guys later. I appreciate you guys hanging out. I will post my notes in the Discord. I have to make sure this doesn't have anything. Because it's on my like long... I need to stop doing this, but I put like all my notes in one sheet. Like, I can't show you it because you'll see my name and like a bunch of confidential information, but I have like all my notes in one giant Google Doc. You might have to hang out with friends IRL tomorrow. That's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Okay, I'm going to head out now and do some eating. I'm pretty hungry now. I'll see you guys later. Bye.